Well, this is it. It's the big one. Oleksandr Usyk against Daniel Dubois. The big rematch at Wembley Stadium for all the marbles at heavyweight. Get your beer, get your gear, get your popcorn ready. This will be epic. So the cat, Oleksandr Usyk, currently has a record of 23-0 with 14 wins coming via knockout. He's been undisputed at cruiserweight, undisputed at heavyweight. He is just the absolute man. He's the pound-for-pound number one. Brilliant amateur as well. He won an Olympic gold in London in 2012 at heavyweight. He then turned pro in November of 2013 before winning his first world title against Krzysztof Glowacki in Poland in 2016. He dominated Glowacki, who was unbeaten and a very good fighter in his own right, but Usyk went to his own backyard, which would become a common theme in his career, constantly fighting away from home. And he gave Glowacki a boxing lesson. A year later, it was the start of the World Boxing Super Series, which Usyk excelled in. This really got his name out there. He defeated Marco Huck in the quarterfinals, stopping him inside 10 rounds. Usyk recently revealed to Carl Frampton that Huck's the one fighter that he disliked because he made some comments about his mum. I think it's fair to say Marco messed up there. Next up for the cat was Marius Bradis in Riga in Latvia. Fantastic fight this. It was a fight of two halves. Usyk won a majority decision. It was super close, very tight. I thought Bradis won the first 5 rounds and Usyk won the last 7. And then in the final of the World Boxing Super Series, he travelled to Moscow and absolutely schooled Murat Gassiev, who was an unbelievable fighter at cruiserweight. He was unbeaten at the time, coming off a great win, stopping Dorticos in the 12th round. And Usyk just made him look like an ordinary fighter, which Gassiev is anything but that. I mean, it was just sensational. He boxed mostly on the back foot, but was aggressive at times as well, and Gassiev couldn't lay a glove on him. I had that 12-0 to Usyk. You could make an argument Gassiev maybe won 1 round, but if anything, you were probably giving him a round because you felt sorry for him. It was that one-sided. So it was some way for Usyk to win the World Boxing Super Series at cruiserweight. He defeated all of the top fighters in that competition, all in their own backyard. Next up for Usyk was Tony Bellew, which was a bit of a random one really because Usyk called out Bellew even though Usyk was the man at cruiserweight. Bellew did vacate his WBC cruiserweight title to fight David Haye twice. And after Bellew did stop the carcass of David Haye twice, he was a big name in boxing, so I think Usyk probably saw it as a good opportunity to get a big fight in England, and he knew he'd beat Bellew, which he did in the 8th round, albeit Bellew did box well. He had success early. He was up on 2 of the cards. One judge did have it a draw, but with Usyk's constant pressure, you just knew that he was going to get the stoppage in the end. Bellew was physically and mentally exhausted in round 8. Usyk couldn't miss with the left hand. And it was a left hand that did finish off the job in the end, which spread eagle Bellew.
Thanks for that very much, but I wasn't spread eagle fuckface. I was actually down for 7 seconds.
What did you
and
slip
then I was
in
back
there?
up on my face.
What did you slip in there?
Fuckface.
All right, fair. That's what I thought you said.
After spread eagle and bomber, he moved up to heavyweight, defeating Chaz Witherspoon via a 7th round stoppage. His second fight at heavyweight was a really tough fight. Some argue that it's his toughest fight at heavyweight to date against Derek Chisora. Del Boy swarmed Usyk early and did pick up some of the early rounds from rounds 1 to 6, but Usyk worked him out and did outbox him down the stretch. It was probably the least offensive we've seen Usyk. Del Boy did push Usyk back a lot more than anyone else certainly has. But it was still a comfortable enough win for Usyk. I think the fact that it was his second fight at heavyweight as well is probably the reason why we didn't see the best of him. Lots of people try and put this narrative out there that Usyk deliberately lost rounds against Chisora to entice AJ to fight him. And that is just absolute rubbish. Give Chisora a bit of respect. He won those rounds fair and square. So yeah, absolute bollocks that Usyk deliberately lost rounds against Chisora. That just did not happen. And also, Usyk was the mandatory to AJ. So AJ would have had to vacate the WBO belt rather than fight him, which would have never happened. And it's easy to forget as well, most people were picking AJ strongly to beat Usyk. I remember putting money on Usyk at 12-5 to win that first fight. Most people were saying that Usyk is a magician, unbelievable cruiserweight, but AJ will be way too big for him. And Usyk, yet again, put on another boxing clinic, dominating AJ for 12 rounds, nearly stopped him in the last round. AJ's tactics were wrong. He tried to box on the back foot. Robert McCracken was useless in the corner. There was no urgency, but it didn't matter what AJ did that night. Usyk would have always beat him, which was proven in the rematch a year later when Usyk defeated AJ via a split decision. It should never have been a split decision. I had this 8-4 to Usyk. But AJ was a lot more aggressive. He did hurt Usyk in round 9, but then Usyk dominated rounds 10, 11, and 12. And Usyk hit AJ that hard that after the fight, he sent AJ into full-on retard mode. Yeah, he never quite recovered from that, AJ, unfortunately. But to be fair to him, he did box well that night. I think he was just devastated that he knew he was never good enough to beat Usyk, but no shame at all in that. Next up for the cat was Daniel Dubois in Poland, which was one of the few times he was actually the home fighter in recent years, even though it still wasn't in Ukraine for obvious reasons. And going into it, nobody gave Dubois a chance. I gave him a 10% chance because I knew he hit hard, but you knew he was massively up against it. Usyk completely dominated the fight. Dubois just couldn't deal with Usyk's southpaw style. Usyk was constantly feinting. His footwork was unbelievable, as it always is. He's got a beautiful jab. And it was easy work. And then, of course, in round 5, Dubois lands a low blow, which was a low blow. It wasn't a body shot, as Dubois and Don Charles and Frank fucking Warren keep going on about. It is a tough one, though, because at the end of the day, we see those shots get landed all the time and refs call it as a body shot. But the rule is, if it's below the belt line, if it's below the navel, it's low. So it's a fucking low blow. He did milk at Usyk, but at the end of the day, you're entitled to take 5 minutes. He took about 4.5 minutes, and he was actually ready to fight earlier, but the ref said, no, take more time. We'll never know, but the one narrative that I do disagree on is this idea that had the ref ruled it a body shot and started counting Usyk, Usyk would have got back up and he would have been fine. Usyk was so hurt on the floor, he was shaking like mad. And even if Usyk got back up there, Dubois would have finished him off. Usyk was done. But it's irrelevant because it was a low blow. And Dubois missed his opportunity because Usyk was clearly still hurt, even though he'd had a good 4.5 minutes off. And Dubois didn't capitalise. He didn't jump on him. And you knew after that, Dubois had missed his opportunity. Usyk dropped Dubois in round 8. Dubois nearly quit then. To be fair to Daniel, he did get back up to his feet, but then Usyk landed a powerful right jab in round 9. Daniel took a knee. He decided to sit out the count and he quit.
Just lastly, it's popped into my head. Again, there's been accusations that he quit, Daniel.
Let the first man let him come and say to my front face, I'll punch him in the mouth so hard. See if they'll quit. I promise you, when I get back to England or any human being that comes to, let them come and say to my face, don't hide behind the keyboard about he quit. Come to my face, me, Don Charles, and tell me I'll punch you in the mouth. I'll probably get arrested by the police, but I'll punch you in the mouth.
I'd like to retract that latest comment on me saying Dubois quit. He didn't quit. He gave it absolutely everything. He couldn't have done any more. He went out on his shield. There is zero quit in that man. After a lot of painful negotiations and Fury having to pull out with a cut, we eventually got Fury Usyk. It was a massive, undisputed fight. Fury, of course, had the WBC belt. Usyk had the rest. It was in Riyadh. It was labelled Ring of Fire. It was a massive event. And it was a fight that delivered. Fury had a lot of success early, particularly to the body, and also landing some beautiful uppercuts on Usyk. Usyk was visibly hurt, especially in round 6. And it really did look like Fury could stop Usyk if this continued. But then at the end of round 7, in between round 7 and 8, Usyk kissed his cross and everything changed. He had a really good round 8, Usyk. And then in round 9, he landed a beautiful left hand, which had Fury all over the gaff. He was completely done. He somehow stayed up on his feet, but the ropes kept him up. The ref eventually gave Fury a count, and it's a bit of a funny situation because had he gave Fury a count earlier like he should have done, Usyk would have had less of a chance of stopping him because the ropes had kept up Fury long before the ref actually gave him a count. So this idea that the ref saved Fury is just an absolute load of bollocks. Usyk had plenty of opportunities there to put down Fury and he couldn't do it. The ref had no choice but to step in when he did, because clearly the only thing that was stopping Fury from being on the floor was the ropes. And like I say, he should have called it as a knockdown earlier, which would have gave Fury a rest and would have gave Usyk less of a chance of knocking out Fury. It was right at the end of the round as well, so Fury was able to recover. Usyk did do enough to win the fight, though it should never have been a split decision. I personally had that 7-5 to Usyk, but with the 10-8 round in round 9, I had that 115 to 112. But it was close, it was competitive. Usyk didn't school Fury. He was a clear winner, but I think people see round 9 and they think that Fury got dominated. But for 12 rounds of that fight, that was a hard, grueling fight for both men where both had their moments. Usyk definitely deserved to win it. And Fury boxed well, especially after that horrendous performance against Ngannou, but he just wasn't aggressive enough against Usyk. But whoever is, Usyk doesn't allow you to be aggressive. And then in the rematch, it was another fascinating fight. It didn't have the drama of the first one, but you couldn't take your eyes off it. It was just boxing at the highest level. Both boxed well. Usyk won a unanimous decision this time. I thought the scorecards were slightly wide. I had it 7-5 again to Usyk, 115, 113. But I can see 8-4. There's no way Fury won that fight. There's no way it was a draw. The right man won again. Usyk outlanded Fury as he did in the first fight, and he just outboxed him. Unfortunately for Fury, he just didn't do enough. And it was crazy, really, because even though Fury wasn't in any trouble in the rematch, and he nearly got knocked out in their first fight, he was so much closer to winning the first fight against Usyk than the second. But he still boxed well. Unfortunately, we never got to see the best version of Fury in either of those Usyk fights, but Usyk was massively up against it. Fury is obviously much bigger than Usyk, weighs a lot heavier. And Turkey and the boxing establishment wanted Fury to win both fights, so Usyk done unbelievably well to come through both of those. It was the perfect time for him to retire after the second Fury fight. He's never going to top that, but selfishly, I'm glad he's still fighting. I love watching him. He's an unbelievable personality. And if he beats Dubois for the second time on Saturday, that'll be 2 wins over AJ, Fury and Dubois, which is just gangster as fuck. And there's a very good chance he will beat Dubois for the second time because that first fight was just not competitive. I know Dubois has came on leaps and bounds since then, but Usyk is still way better than him in every department, apart from power. Obviously, Dubois hits harder, but Usyk is so hard to hit clean. He's got a great defense. As Dubois found out in their first fight, he barely landed anything to the head. He did land some decent, legitimate body shots, but even before the low blow, he was landing plenty of other low shots that didn't get called as low blows. So I think ultimately it's rinse and repeat for Usyk. I think if he does the same again, pushes Dubois back, takes the centre of the ring, and uses his superior ring IQ and skill set to confuse Daniel, and let's be honest, it's not difficult to confuse Daniel. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but he makes me look like Albert fucking Einstein. So yeah, I think Usyk ultimately will be way too intelligent for Dubois on the night. There is always the risk that Dubois is going to be too powerful and he will catch Usyk with something because he hits hard enough to knock out anybody. But Usyk doesn't allow you to be as aggressive as what you want to be, and people are pissing in the wind if they think that Usyk is going to allow Dubois to push him back like he did against AJ. So for me, the first few rounds are key. If Usyk can weather the storm and if he can take the centre of the ring and be the aggressor, I don't see a way that Dubois wins this fight because Dubois has to be on the front foot and he has to fight the only way he knows, which is going for the knockout. He may talk a glass eye to sleep when he opens his mouth, but he knows how to put you to sleep in the ring. He currently has a record of 22-2 with 21 wins coming via knockout. And it's fair to say since that loss to Usyk, he's been in fine form. That rebuild started in the form of stopping Jarrell Miller inside 10 rounds. He did have to come through some adversity in this one. Miller did ask a lot of questions of Dubois. He pushed him in the middle rounds especially. He did have some success, but Dubois came through, forcing a stoppage with 8 seconds to go in the last round. Next up for Daniel was Filip Hrgović on the 5v5 card. Really hard fight on paper. Hrgović was a favourite going into it. He actually done Dubois in sparring, which Dubois even admitted. So you were really concerned about Dubois in this one, especially after the first few rounds. Hrgović couldn't miss with a right hand, but Dubois showed a granite chin, and this time he didn't take a knee. Dubois was naughty with the head, but at the end of the day, it's a fight. You've got to get away with what you can. In the end, Dubois was coming on strong. He hurt Hrgović badly, and it looked like he was on the verge of stopping him. The doctor did tell the referee to stop the fight because of cuts on Hrgović, but even without the cuts, I think Dubois was going to force a stoppage there. So after that 8th round stoppage of Hrgović, he was in a fantastic position, and all of the talk was about him fighting AJ next. It was a quick turnaround. The 5v5 was in June, and the AJ fight was in September. And going into this, yet again, Dubois was a massive underdog. Most people were picking AJ. AJ was coming off that unbelievable knockout of Francis Ngannou. And Dubois went in there and he battered AJ from pillar to post, dropping him inside the first round with a beautiful right hand. AJ just never recovered from that. AJ got knocked down again in round 3, again in round 4, and then finished off in round 5. He did land a massive shot of his own, but then Dubois landed a right hand from hell and ended AJ. Sensational performance from Dubois. In total, he had AJ down 4 times. Really, there should have been another knockdown in there that wasn't called from Marcus McDonald, but it didn't matter. Dubois was on top of the world. And that was the performance that really made people think that potentially Dubois could beat Usyk if Usyk came through Fury again, which obviously he did. Dubois then invaded the ring after Usyk beat Fury for the 2nd time and said, "I want my revenge." Usyk went, "No worries, I'll beat you again, not a problem." And at that time, Dubois was scheduled to fight Joseph Parker in February, so he definitely wasn't overlooking him at all. In the end, he never fought Parker because he had to pull out with days to go due to a viral infection. Let's hope he doesn't eat any crowns this week. There was a lot of conspiracy theories after that Dubois deliberately pulled out because he knew he was getting the Usyk fight. Just a load of bollocks. Why would he agree to fight Parker for millions and then pull out on the Thursday? Ridiculous. He was genuinely ill, and it was one of those situations where nobody won. Parker obviously didn't get the same money to fight Bacoli, but still got out. It was disappointing for him. He trained for Dubois. Dubois had trained for Parker, and it's not helped Dubois at all going into this fight because had he fought in February, beat Parker, looked good, I'm sure he would have had a lot more momentum going into this fight on Saturday. But you've got to say that he does have a lot of momentum at the minute, and those 3 wins since the Usyk loss were impressive. But Dubois does still have defensive frailties, and you can't just completely eradicate the loss to Joe Joyce. I know that was 5 years ago now. It was a very long time ago. Dubois was 23. He was actually winning that fight, but Joyce busted up Dubois' left eye socket. Joyce landed a left jab in round 10, which forced Dubois to take a knee, and he sat out the count. It was probably the right decision looking back because I think Dubois learned a lot from that, and he was done. His eye was only going to get worse in that fight. There was also an element of karma that the fight ended that way. In the build-up, Dubois took the piss out of Joe Joyce's mum for being blind. She's registered as 93% blind, so I have no sympathy for Dubois with the way he lost that fight. But then he did show a lot of heart against Kevin Lerena on the undercard of Fury Chisora 3, the trilogy we all wanted. Dubois had a nightmare of a first round, tearing his ACL against Lerena, who dropped Dubois 3 times inside the first 3 minutes. But he battled back extremely well, stopping Lerena at the end of round 3. And I remember after that performance, everyone was saying that Dubois is over the whole quit thing. He's a lot stronger mentally now. He will never look for a way out again. And less than a year later, when he fought Usyk, he did the same again as what he did against Joyce. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you're done in a fight, if you're finished, if you're going to get knocked out anyway, save yourself for another day. But when I see all these people saying that Dubois is completely changed mentally, he will never quit again, I just don't believe it. But let's see, because he does have a good chance of winning this. Going into their first fight, I gave Dubois a 10% chance. I've flip-flopped on the probability that I've gave him in the rematch. There were times where I thought he had a 30 or 40% chance. But after reviewing everything, after watching back the first fight, seeing how easy Dubois got hit against Hrgović, against AJ, and even against Miller, I do actually give Dubois a 20% chance, but that's still a hell of a chance against someone as good as Usyk. And if Dubois can do it, my God, this will go down as one of the best wins ever from a British fighter. This is the first undisputed heavyweight title fight on British soil. It's nearly sold out. By all accounts, it could be sold out on fight night. And it's going to be interesting to see who the crowd are going for. I think it'll be 50-50. Obviously, Dubois is the home fighter, but Usyk is adored in England. I think ultimately both guys are likeable. Dubois is harmless. Usyk is just so likeable as a person and as a fighter. He's a true champion and a true role model. But there is always that question mark with him. When is he going to get old overnight? Father Time remains undefeated. He is 38. It was a bit worrying seeing him in training camp with a little shiner under his right eye. Clearly he's been having some hard spars, but you can't swim without getting wet. And we also had the extremely unexpected news of Usyk splitting up with longtime promoter Alex Krasuk, who was there with Usyk from the off. Not ideal timing with a month to go to the fight, but at the same time, I suppose if their relationship had came to an end, then it had came to an end whenever it had happened. I don't think it's going to affect anything. It was just a bit of a shame, really, because I love those two together. But these things happen. Fighters fall out with their promoters, managers, trainers all the time. By all accounts, it was all amicable. Who knows behind the scenes? Maybe they did have a massive fallout. It was probably over money. We'll never know the full truth, so there's no point speculating. And for me, I don't think it'll make a difference to Usyk's preparation. The thing that I do think will make a big difference in this fight to previous Usyk fights is the fact that Usyk clearly doesn't like Team Dubois.
I want to ask you a question from the bottom of your heart. When Daniel hit you with that shot, I know human beings, when you get hit low, football, whatever, people, you straight away, you hold like this. When you got hit, you went down, and your body started shaking like this, and the referee looked at you, you didn't say low, you didn't complain, you sat there, and you froze, because you were hurt. Why have you not been honest? I want to know. I can't be fooled, trust me. I know people's facial expressions, I know physiological reactions.
After fight, we go to center of London.
Yeah.
Your team four people, my team 4 people, and make them.
Trust me, box. Listen, boxing is boxing.
Yeah.
In life, I will pull your eyeballs out of your head.
Okay.
Your tongue will be out hanging out your mouth. Forget it. So stick to boxing. Boxing, I salute you. Like, in life,
will
boxing,
be lying like this.
Not me, brother. Never. Trust me. Impossible.
Okay.
Trust
Okay.
me.
We'll see.
Yep, my money's on the Ukrainians there. Sorry, George Fox. That was fucking embarrassing. My God. You've got George Fox, who's 4-1 as a professional with no knockouts. His one loss came to Polish journeyman Kamil Sokolowski, and he's got the audacity of lecturing Usyk, the pound-for-pound #1, the soundest guy ever. And George and his dad, Don Charles, have been fucking unbearable. They have done my head in the build-up, and I know they're doing a good job for their fighter. Dubois obviously doesn't speak, but at the same time, so disrespectful towards Usyk, completely and utterly bullshitting about the low blow. Usyk was well in his right to take the amount of time that he did take. And Dubois hit him low. Okay, it wasn't far off being a legitimate body shot, but the rules are the rules. So they're going on about absolutely nothing. And Don Charles questioning Usyk's faith, questioning his honesty, I think is bang out of order. And I think it's going to backfire massively on Daniel Dubois this Saturday. I think Usyk's going to want to punish Dubois, not necessarily just to punish him, but to punish Dubois' entire team. And I think this is going to be a brutal and clinical performance from Usyk. I think Dubois has to start fast. I think his best chance is inside the first 6 rounds. He's got to target the body and legitimately hit the body this time. Because AJ and Fury did have success against Usyk to the body. Beterbiev did drop Usyk to the body in the amateurs. But in all of those fights, Usyk won. So it's not just a case of you hit Usyk to the body and he's going to go down. And even if he does go down, like against Beterbiev, he can easily get up back off the floor to win. I know he's not had to do that in the pros yet, but you wouldn't put it past Usyk going down this Saturday night and getting up and putting on a clinic and stopping Dubois. But Dubois is a great finisher. To be fair, he's only won on points once against Kevin Johnson. That was early on in his career, so he really does only have a chance of knocking out Usyk for me. I can't see him winning on points in a million years unless he dropped Usyk multiple times and Usyk survived and it was just a case of there was too many 10-8 rounds in there for Dubois not to win on points. So I do think Dubois will come out extremely aggressive. I think he has to. I think he's got to try and establish the jab. He's got a fantastic jab himself, Dubois. And I do think he can have success at times against Usyk, but I just think Usyk is going to be way too good for him. I think Dubois might have a couple of moments of success, like AJ did in round 9 of the rematch against Usyk, and like Fury had in round 6 in his first fight against Usyk, but ultimately it won't be enough. I think Usyk is going to dominate this fight again. I think he's going to push back Dubois. I think Dubois will be lost in there like he was in their first fight. And I think when Dubois has thrown the kitchen sink at Usyk and Usyk is still there in the second half of the fight, Dubois is tired. Usyk's fans are singing Usyk's name. Dubois' fans have went all quiet. Everyone can see where the fight's going to go. I think Usyk will get to Dubois mentally again. I think he'll drop him multiple times. And I do think Dubois will look for a way out again in this fight. And whether that's him quitting on his stool or sitting out a count again, I do expect Usyk to force Dubois to quit once more. But whatever happens, whatever way Dubois loses, he can come back from it. He's still got a fantastic resume for a 27-year-old. He is currently the IBF champion. We all know, really, that is Usyk's belt. He gave up that belt because he was going to get it stripped anyway. Dubois picked up the interim IBF belt against Hrgovic and later got upgraded to the full champion. But nonetheless, whatever happens in this fight, whatever happens in Dubois' career after, he has won a genuine version of the world title. And I am sure that Dubois will go on and he will have a very successful career after this. He's already made insane money. He never has to work again, but he clearly does love boxing. So I'm sure he's going to be around for a while longer. I just think that Usyk is going to be way too good for him. And also, Usyk's not just fighting for his own legacy. He's not just fighting for money. He's fighting for Ukraine. And that's why he is just so difficult to beat. His boxing ability is next level. And he's the closest thing we've had to Floyd Mayweather since Floyd retired. And it was always the same narratives with Floyd as well. It was like, oh, he's done. This is the fight where he's going to get old overnight. And when you're relying on that, it just gets boring because clearly, Usyk is still way too good for everyone, as Floyd was even in his later years. But this is heavyweight boxing, I guess, so it is a bit different. You can never rule out anybody at the top level in heavyweight boxing. So Dubois has got nothing to lose for me and everything to gain. He's going in there with the greatest fighter on the planet. And if he can do it, good luck to him. You've got to give him his flowers. If he pulls this off, it will be a monumental win. I just don't see it happening myself. But yeah, it's going to be a great night of boxing. It's all about the main event. I couldn't give a flying fuck about the undercard. I mean, it's a pile of shit anyway. You've got Lawrence Okolie against Kevin Lerena, which I think will be an absolute stinker. Lawrence Okolie will win that on points. And I think Daniel Lappin, Usyk's training partner, will spark out Louis Edmondson at light heavyweight. And that's honestly the highlights of the undercard. The other fights aren't even worth talking about. But it is all about the big one, baby. Usyk Dubois 2. It is going to go off. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. Subscribe if you're new. Enjoy the boxing at the weekend. And I will see you all on the next one.